Good evening, everyone. We are thrilled that you've chosen to join us for tonight's inaugural Riverside chat featuring our very own President Tuajuanda Jordan. My name is David Hautanen Jr. I am the Vice President for Enrollment Management. As we considered this inaugural program, we thought it would be exciting and particularly salient in these unprecedented times to provide our admitted students and families the opportunity to meet President Jordan, hear from her about the college, and give you the opportunity to ask your important questions. Before I introduce President Jordan, I would be remiss if I did not offer my hearty congratulations to you on your admission to St. Mary's College of Maryland. This is an accomplishment that is truly to be celebrated. We know that most of you attending our program this evening have already made the choice to become a St. Mary's College Seahawk. We are very excited and happy to have you. For those of you still making your enrollment decision, we look forward to you joining the Seahawk family. Now, without any further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce the 7th President of St. Mary's College of Maryland, Dr. Tuajuanda Jordan.
Thank you, David. Good evening, everyone. As David said, I am Tuajuanda Jordan, the President of the National Public Honors College, sometimes referred to as St. Mary's College of Maryland. On the 7th day of the 7th month, I became the president of this institution in 2014. Did you notice all of those sevens? What could that possibly mean? Well, I take it to mean that the sun and the stars were perfectly aligned on that magical day, and the force of that energy has propelled us to this position of tremendous momentum. And momentum is something we surely have. How do I know? Well, because an object can only have momentum when it is in motion, and St. Mary's College is on the move. Let me give you a few examples of what this place is about. St. Mary's College has the most perfect mission that should stand the test of time. This mission has given us a distinct advantage in higher education. The mission is about excellence, access, affordability, and diversity. This is a rare combination in the public sector. The mission explicitly states that we are to provide a liberal arts education akin to that found at elite private colleges that is affordable and accessible to a diverse population of students. To make that happen, we've evolved into a public-private hybrid institution. If you know anything about biology, successful hybrids take the best components of its contributing parts and flourish. We have done just that. Our further advantage is how we deliver on this mission in the 21st century. In today's world, an education must be relevant to current opportunities and challenges and prepare a student not only for lifelong learning that is associated with happiness and good citizenship, but also a career, and equally important, that first job. Our Learning Through Experiential and Applied Discovery initiative, also known as LEAD, does just that. There are some colleges that are doing parts of the LEAD initiative, but they aren't even close to doing it in the way we are for all of our students. All of our students will have an integrative inquiry. That's a contemporary approach to a liberal education. All of our students will be engaged in professional skills development as part of the core curriculum. And the Honors College Promise guarantees a research experience or internship, either regional, national, or international, to every student. And we provide excellent teachers, professors, and professional staff. How excellent is excellent? Let me tell you about a couple of our staff. The professional skills development implemented as part of LEAD and the Honors College Promise have together necessitated our thinking outside the box to figure out how we're going to get this done. Our creative approach is garnering national attention, and 2 of our staff in the Career Development Center were invited to present a workshop at a national conference about integrating professional skills development into the curriculum. Now let me tell you about a couple of our faculty. You may have seen the story on Professor Jennifer Conrad Black, who just won the Robert Foster Cherry Award, which is the highest teaching award in the nation. We also hold the third highest number of faculty Fulbright awardees in the United States among all public and private undergraduate colleges. Conrad Black is a Fulbright Fellow. One of our chemists has just been named the Outstanding Young Scientist in the state of Maryland. A history professor has just been awarded one of the most prestigious fellowships in the humanities from the American Council of Learned Societies. I could go on and on about the accomplishments of our faculty, 98% of whom hold the highest attainable degrees in their fields. 98%. When one thinks of all the scholarly work they are doing, you have to wonder how much attention will they give to you, a student? Well, with a 9-to-1 student to faculty ratio, you will get lots of attention from them. An average of 9 students to each faculty member is virtually unheard of at a public college, and you definitely won't see that at a university, and that includes those universities that contain honors colleges within them. At St. Mary's College, each and every student receives an honors education, not just a few. And since we don't have graduate students, you will receive education from professors and professional staff who are experts in their field, their respective fields, not graduate teaching assistants who are learning how to be experts in their field. The professor-led educational experience is relevant, and its relevancy will continue to evolve. We're gearing up to roll out 3 new majors within the next 2 years, maybe 4, that take greater advantage of our expertise as well as our location. The 3 new programs are neuroscience, coming in fall 2020, followed by applied data science and marine studies within 2 years. We're also phasing in a track and field program as well as a pep band to harness some of that energy and enthusiasm of our most musically inclined as we cheer our athletes, many of whom get to play in our brand new stadium and will be transitioning to a new athletics conference in a year or so. Additionally, we're in the midst of constructing a new building that will house our music and ed studies programs, as well as a 700-seat auditorium, a cafe, and state-of-the-art study commons for student collaborative work. Now, you might ask, how much is all this new construction activity affecting my cost of attendance? Fair enough. Well, part of our mission is focused on access and affordability. And just a few months ago, the Board of Trustees voted to freeze tuition, fees, room, and board, yes, all 4 of them, for fall 2020. Just next year's cost freeze alone will save the average Maryland family $3,000 over the 4 years you will be here. Out-of-state students will save $4,000. And we will continue to identify ways to fulfill our promise of access and affordability throughout your tenure at St. Mary's College. St. Mary's College has momentum. Is this momentum a new thing at the college? No, it's been building for years. For the last few years, our national rankings in US News and World Reports has been steadily increasing. We've climbed 7 spots during my tenure here. And in the public liberal arts sector, we are ranked 5th. 3 of the top 4 liberal arts colleges, however, don't require any payment beyond serving in the military for a number of years after graduation. So if you're not the serving in the military type at this stage in your life, we are the best public liberal arts college in the country. I know some of you quantitative types have your brows furrowed right now. You're thinking, wait, something isn't adding up. And you're right. I said we are ranked 5th. 3 don't require any money. 5 minus 3 equals 2. How did we get to be number 1? Well, the 4th ranked public liberal arts college is military focused, but not an official military academy. So it charges for the experience its students receive. They're a mutant of some type. So 5 top public liberal arts colleges minus 3 military academies that don't charge tuition, minus 1 military-focused institution that does charge money, equals St. Mary's College is number 1. You've really been admitted to the top liberal arts college in the nation, and you are joining a family of 14,000 alumni across the world, from tropical disease experts at the National Institutes of Health to entrepreneurs in the music industry and virtually everything in between, who are thriving and making a difference in the world. You have been invited to join the select group. This historic place is an idyllic space for learning, contemplating, creating, and making lifelong friends. The St. Mary's College experience will propel you into the future. We will be open for the fall semester, and we're doing everything in our collective power to make the fall a residential experience with all of our students on campus. I invite you to come soar with us and experience life as only a Seahawk can. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, President Jordan. I hope you all found her remarks as inspirational as I have. We do have a number of questions, so it's time for our question and answer period. And as we might expect, a number of the questions are regarding our plans for the fall. Mm-hmm. So if you could maybe talk a little bit more about about our plans for the fall, in terms of what does what are the current plans and how students will be onboarded over the course of the summer in preparation for arrival in September.
So we are planning, that's a challenging question, yeah. Right? Because as you're looking at how this pandemic is working, you just really don't know what it's going to do. But our intention is to open in the fall and to have students on campus. So right now we're making plans in such a way that, especially since you consider our student to faculty ratio is only 9:1. So there's plenty of space where we can effectively practice social distancing in the classrooms and really think about ways by which we can structure how our students are interacting all across the campus so that social distancing is always first and foremost, because safety is very important for us, but there's enough room for them to get this feeling of community and to learn as a cohort while still practicing social distancing and really wearing our masks and doing all those other things. So we're designing this semester so we can follow the public health guidelines and what the scientists are telling us, but still try to give our students the opportunity to be here on campus, to interact with our faculty and our professional staff. So we are, we must have 11 different scenarios with how to get the students on campus, to move them in safely, how to make sure they're having a good experience in their classroom and not really experiencing any kind of undue risk because of what's going on in this virus. And another interesting thing, which our faculty are we have some really cool scientists down here who are working with our public health officials to really monitor certain environmental factors to see if we can detect when that virus is really sloughing off into the environment, to get a sense of how it's affecting people. And we will use those data to help us modulate and really adapt what we're doing to keep everybody safe on campus. So I know it wasn't a direct answer, but that's the best we have at this point with all this uncertainty right now.
So a few of the other questions surrounding the pandemic are just some thoughts about how we might do social distancing, either in classes or around campus in the dining halls.
Mm-hmm.
In particular, there was a question about how we think about social distancing in the residence halls.
Mm-hmm. So today I was writing up some stuff to the staff, thinking about, we have many single rooms. We have students. When you look at our residence halls, upperclassmen live in townhouses or apartments. And so it's pretty easy to socially distance them in those kinds of housing units. Many of the first year students and new students live in traditional dorms. So we're looking at how can we make sure that the beds are at least 6 feet apart. And if it's possible to put a partition between those beds that you can clean and disinfect on a daily basis to make sure that the students have adequate room. And if a room is too small, to ensure that the students can be 6 feet, at a minimum of 6 feet apart, then we will only put one student in those rooms. So those are the kinds of things we're thinking about with respect to the residence halls.
So, I guess we have got a couple of questions here about plans for testing students for COVID-19 or to ensure that students are healthy. Do we have any plans in place, or how are we thinking about any testing of students on campus over the course of the fall?
Those are very preliminary right now, but that's definitely on the list where we're trying to figure out how can we get access to tests and how can we ensure that the students are being tested, the faculty and staff are regularly being tested, that we're monitoring their temperature, except, what we're learning about the virus is not everybody who is sick has a fever, right? But that at least gives you some indication. Also finding ways by which if students are sick, how do we quarantine them safely on campus to make sure they have everything they need to still be engaged, but separated from everyone so we can try to contain or mitigate the spread of that. So we're looking at all these things. We're looking at how can we get, I would imagine the expectation is going to be that everyone is wearing masks next in the fall. So, the expectation is going to be, I would think, that students are going to come with their own masks, but we must have adequate masks on hand just in case people run out or whatever happens, because everybody has to be covered. So we're working on those things. We're pretty certain we're going to be able to get the supplies we need. We're working very closely with the St. Mary's County Health Department and at the state level to try to map these things out to make sure that before we open the doors, we have adequate systems in place to take care and keep our community safe. And St. Mary's College, if you look at all of our communications, we talk about the fact that we are a community and we will treat it just like that throughout this process.
So that President Jordan, there was a question about whether or not we will know if the dorms can be set up to keep social distance as families are thinking about the deadline for deposit on 2 days from now on Friday the 1st. What sort of assurances can you provide that we will be, again, well prepared for the fall in ways that the families can feel confident that making a decision to enroll is a wise decision?
Well, I would say that if we cannot accommodate a student in the residence hall safely, then we won't allow them to be in the residence hall safety, and we will find other accommodations for them. We have rental properties that we have around the campus that we usually provide to visitors or something like that. That can be a way by which we can make sure. There are also other spaces. If you look at our campus, not all of our dorm rooms are filled. And so then there is adequate space, I believe. And so within the next couple of days, I will get a better sense of, I don't know the dimensions of all the rooms, but Residence Life will be able to give me some indication of whether or not we can accommodate all of the students in those traditional halls. And if not, some of the new students might have to go into a townhouse or an apartment or one of those kinds of things, or in some of our other rental properties around the near the campus. So if, again, if we think we can accommodate, we will definitely let the families know.
Okay. So right after spring break, the college went on to virtual learning experience. How has that been going?
It's actually been going incredibly well. One of the things I must say is that our faculty and the staff who teach, the professional staff who teach, they just rolled up their sleeves. And the announcement was made before spring break, probably 2-3 days before spring break, that students were not going to be allowed to return to campus. And all of the instructors spent the entire spring break working to move their courses online. And if you look at, you can track how many students drop courses. We've not seen an increase in the number of students dropping courses. We've not seen an increase in the number of students who are requiring extra assistance in their classes. There doesn't seem to be students are not performing well. And I've gotten very few complaints, and that's always a good sign when you don't get a lot of complaints. And the last couple of weeks, I've actually gone to a virtual class, and the students were incredibly engaged in it. And the feedback from the students has been relatively positive. Whenever there's been an issue, we've been able to handle it oftentimes immediately. Oftentimes it has to do with technology. And we made sure that we let the students and faculty and staff know that if they don't have adequate internet or computer support at their homes, we will provide that to them. And that's exactly what we've done. So I would say, all things considered, we've done incredibly well with the remote learning, and the faculty have been phenomenal. And I would also say the students have been incredibly supportive too and engaged. And I think that that's a good sign, because that shows how much the students care about this institution and how much they want to be here and support each other. And so that's been positive.
In your remarks, you spoke about the college moving to a new conference. Do you expect any disruption to athletics this fall? Do you anticipate any changes for students who are coming to the college to play a sport?
Hi, that's hard. That's very hard. A lot of this is going to depend on what the NCAA says. Mm-hmm. I would imagine that if the social distancing and how big of a group can gather is still in place, I'm anticipating that as we get closer to the fall, they're going to relax this number a little bit, and it won't be 10. And so that will help. But it could be that some of our our sports will be playing, if we cannot do social distancing with the fans, they will be playing without fans. If there are too many students on the team, then maybe we won't be able to do those. So it's really hard to tell, but we will be ready to play if we're given the green light to do so.
Oh, that's great. Here's a question about finances. And the question is, due to the pandemic and the effect on families, are there additional scholarship opportunities available for students?
We always try, part of my remarks is about access and affordability. If you're having financial challenges, please reach out to our financial aid office. They are always willing to assist and try to do their absolute best to support students and their families, just on a day-to-day basis, but especially now during this pandemic, and they've held special sessions, and I invite all of you to try to participate in that or just reach out to your financial aid counselor.
Mhm.
We will do our best.
I guess there's another question that is finance related, and in your remarks you talked a bit about our commitment to affordability and holding tuition, fees, room and board level next year. But this family's interested about the financial status of St. Mary's, and do we have a substantial endowment?
No. That's the easy answer. As a public institution our size, our endowment is not substantial. And if substantial means, over $100 million, no, we're not substantial at all. But what we find is that our community is very supportive. And when we put out a call for help, people find a way to support the college. So, I think that all colleges and universities across the nation are struggling with the financial challenges associated with this pandemic. But I think that we're no worse than many of them. And I would say most, because, the state supports St. Mary's College tremendously. And at the state level, they understand. When I first started at the college, we were called a hidden gem. And it was very important for me to not make us hidden anymore, for them to all know that they have a real jewel here on St. Mary's River. And they know that, they keep an eye on us, they will support us. So I'm not unduly concerned about that.
Very nice. As families are thinking about enrolling for the fall, one family's asking whether or not deadlines such as the fall term payment that's due in July will be shifted if COVID-19 is still very active.
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
We will do what we must to accommodate our families. If you make a commitment to us, we are committed to you, and we will work with you to ease the burden, but try to make sure that you have a way by which you can meet the financial obligations. We will work with you on that. So deadlines are man-made. They're just like bylaws, right? They're what you put, how you're going to govern yourself, and deadlines is what you hope would happen, because it makes your life a little bit easier, but there's nothing etched in stone, especially not during a pandemic.
I think your comments during your remarks about the tuition, room, board, and fees being frozen for next year is very interesting to our families. I do have a question here about whether or not the tuition freeze is just for next year, or could it be for additional years?
Well, I can't say no. We're trying to be affordable, but there has to be a balance, because we have to pay the bills at the end of the day. So we have no intention of raising tuition 5, 10, 20%. If we raise it for fall 2021, it will be enough so that we can pay our bills. That's the best I can do. We're trying very hard to be affordable. But I can't see fall 2021 right now. I'm trying to get us through fall 2020 to make this campus safe and to bring our students to campus.
There is, as families and students are thinking about enrolling for the fall, there's a question about AP credits, and I think I might actually take this one on.
Thank you.
And the question is, will we be accepting AP credits from this year's modified tests? And if so, what are the requirements? And we understand the challenges that that the College Board is having, and the reasons for the AP test being modified. And actually, we have to commend the College Board for making these modifications in order to enable students to be able to take these tests to be able to get college credit. And we will be honoring college credit from these exams. Our policy is that we accept 4s and 5s. So study for them, take the tests, and send along your scores once you've gotten them. And we hope that they'll be in the place where we're able to give you credit, and that can help you accelerate your journey towards your degree, or it could give you even more flexibility to take that minor, or take additional courses, or take a smaller course load on any given semester. So let's see, what else do we have here? So here's a question regarding the enrollment deposit. Has it been pushed back? And the answer is that no, we have not pushed back our enrollment deposit. May 1, Friday, which I know is right around the corner at this point in time, is still our deposit deadline. However, we do expect that there are students and families who may need some additional time. And I just encourage you, if you need some additional time, to be in touch with the Office of Admission, and they'll be more than happy to assist you. And we had also another question about, are we committed to the current levels of financial aid? And the college, and we're very proud of this, is that when we offer a financial aid package, that package stays with the student over the course of their 4 years, barring any dramatic changes in family circumstances. So if you win the lottery, there may be an adjustment to your financial package. Or conversely, if there are challenges and changes, we are more than happy to work with you to make sure that St. Mary's College is as affordable as possible. It's in our mission as a public institution. I guess another question I have here, which is kind of a fun question, and I'm not sure I know the answer to this, so President Jordan, I hope you know the answer to this, but why are microwaves not allowed in the residence halls?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
So I think that's one that we're going to have to get back to you on. Students certainly have refrigerators in their residence halls, and the residence halls all do have common microwaves. So there will be those opportunities there. I encourage you to reach out to the Office of Housing, and we can give you more details. But one thing that we will be doing is, for any questions that we did not answer, or we realized that, guess what, we could have actually explained or shared a little bit more about our response to that question, we will be sending answers to all of those questions sometime in the next couple of days. There's a question here. Let's see. Okay, yes, I understand with the microwaves, lots of other colleges allow them. So we'll have to explore that a little bit more. A question, I guess, regarding the residence halls. President Jordan, you mentioned that there might be some alternative locations where students might be housed, in particular, some of the other college-owned housing that we have. And this may be too early, but how do you think about whether students would be charged for that particular housing that they're in, or would they be charged for the housing that they originally intended?
They will be charged. I would say that they will be charged for the housing they originally attended. It's not the family or the student's fault if we find that we cannot do the correct amount of social distancing and have to put them elsewhere, we will absolutely not charge them any different.
Okay, thank you. Are freshmen allowed to have cars on campus? And do we charge any fees? Student would like to have a car on campus.
So what did you say after that? Yeah, they are allowed to have cars on campus.
And is there
And there's a parking fee.
Yes.
That is something like $100 a year or $50 a semester. So it's not onerous. But yeah, there is a fee.
So orientation will be the sort of the next St. Mary's event after enrolling, and we're making our plans now for it. We call our orientation in June our Seahawks Orientation and Advising and Registration Program, or SOAR. Due to current circumstances, we're planning to have an online program. And when are advisors assigned to students, and how does that process work to ensure that students get the right classes for their first year?
Do you know that one better than I do, or?
You know, yeah, let me take a stab at it. We're actually putting together something really exciting this year. In addition to eSOAR, which will be a series of classes, if you will, that a student will engage in, where they will be in cohorts and meet their advisors and learn about classes and all the other sort of transitional activities that students have. Very soon, we're going to be launching a survey to all of our enrolling students. And that survey is going to be asking you about your academic interests and courses you'd like to take. And our advisors are going to be using that information to help craft course schedules for you. We were planning on doing this well ahead of any changes to the SOAR program. And we think that's going to, with that advanced sort of input, actually give students a more rich conversation when they meet with an advisor. So it's not so much about the mechanics of registering for classes, but it really is about the students' academic interests and their aspirations. We are planning at this time that given sort of Board of Health requirements, that we would like to host an event over the course of the summer where all of our new students can come together and visit campus for a time before they move onto campus in late August. So I hope that, so we're pretty excited about doing something a little bit different with all of this. So let's see, what else do we have here? So I guess the kind of circling back to the cars. So the question is, can we apply for the car permit now?
I would, you know, I don't hang out at that level of activity, but I would think that if the student has sent in their deposit, right, that there must be a way by which they could do that, take care of the parking sooner rather than later. So,
you know, actually, sorry, not to interrupt, I actually have some helpful information for you. And that is that the parking application will be opening in June.
There you go.
For the fall term. So that is an online form that the student would fill out.
Very good.
All right, let's see, what else do we have here? I think we have covered all of the questions. Emily, do you see that I might be missing anything? There's been quite the list here.
Let's see, what time is it? We still have a few more minutes. There's a few that are just coming in now toward the end.
What a bank.
Give me one moment. There's some more specific questions that I'm not sure if we're going to be able to answer. We might have to get back to a few people on these. For example, one is about meal plans. If we can explain those options, that might be something that we have to kind of look into and email back out to everyone.
Okay. I think there, I am seeing a question now coming through that I think would be important to respond to this evening. And this family, and there are a couple of questions with this theme. The family is very interested in the atmosphere for students of color on the campus. In particular, there is a student who is trying to choose between an HBCU and St. Mary's College. So how would you respond to that, President Jordan?
It depends on what you're looking for. You know, I went to an HBCU as an undergrad, and I'm a president of a PWI. It really depends on what you think you need. If you're looking for a sense of community, St. Mary's College, you could feel the community. I was walking with some prospective parents today on campus, and
Really?
the woman said, the wife said, "There's something I can feel here." She said, "I feel like I want to go back to college. It just feels special and there's no one around." This place is incredibly community oriented. But as a minority, underrepresented minority student, you will feel sometimes that you need to be with your own. I totally get it. We have affinity groups. We have a multicultural center. We have Hispanic student groups. We have Black student groups. We have Asian student groups. You can find your niche. And I don't speak disparagingly about anyone. But if you want that strong sense of community and you want to really be pushed academically, St. Mary's College is the place you should be. And all the other presidents that I know, there's only one Tuajuanda, right? So you can go to another school, but it's like, they're not nearly as dynamic and engaging as I am. There's only one that I know who is much more charismatic than I do. And he isn't even at an HBCU. So I think you need to come to St. Mary's College. I wish I knew who you were. I'd sit you down and talk to you heart to heart, but I think this is the place you need to be.
Well, I think on that note, we've covered most of the questions, and some others that are remaining are sort of very specific details, and we will get back to you on those. All right, just seeing some others pop through, but just a question about what's the campus bank, the ATM on campus?
It's going to be Truist.
Okay.
Right, and that's the merger between SunTrust and BB&T.
All right, good. Thank you very much. So I think at this point, we'll wrap up our program for this evening. Thank you all for joining us. We sincerely appreciate it, and we appreciate your comments back to us about the program. Please rest assured that we are here to support you through this process, through your enrollment, and over the course of the next 4 days, and really look forward to seeing you cross the stage as a graduating member of the class of 2024 in really 4 short years. I really look forward to meeting you personally when we're on campus. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and please stay safe. Take care.
Excellent. Thank you.